Welcome off the post, brought to you by Coverall Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. Ant, how are you?
Felt really good that we got some hockey in last night, Russ. It felt
Yeah, it was like muscle memory. It was good.
good.
And we have Michael Jello. Mike, how are you?
I was sort of thrown off by the Saturday afternoon game against Detroit for the Sabres and by the DJ that they had before, during, and not after because I left. But I mean, yeah. Oh my God, it's like, please. Last year was bad enough with the bands that they brought in. They didn't bring these the local bands. Now they have a DJ, and it's so bad. But
well, here's the thing: in Philly, the in-arena host is a DJ,
right?
So he hasn't done it yet.
He hasn't done it yet.
He's the part-time host. He's the part-time in-arena host with another lady and the DJ.
That's basically what the gentleman Everett is at the Wells Fargo Center.
Unfortunately, you're spitting in the wind for that. Like, this is where it's all going.
Just bring noise canceling headphones. That's the only hope you have.
I don't do that, but it's not a bad idea if it really gets to you that much. All right. So we'll talk about the Cam Fowler contract. It was pretty much something St. Louis had to do. 3 years, like, I don't know, 18.5 million. But I do have a Cam Fowler story because, again, this goes into drafting and development. So many people wrote that Cam Fowler was not physical and not fast enough to be a good NHLer. And I remember he came in for the during playoffs, when prospects come in before the draft for interviews, they came into Philly because it was like 2010 or something before the Stanley Cup. And Fowler came in with a shiner. And at that point, I looked at people and said, not tough enough, huh?
You talk about it's like the Link Gates famous draft.
Yeah, but he did. He had a shiner, and I remember asking him about it, and I thought that is perfect because for all the people that were going to say, yeah, he's not tough enough or not this or not that, he's had a really nice career.
He has, I think so. His time in Anaheim was, kind of up and down, but I think his time since he's going to St. Louis, I mean, he's become, again, the expectations become adjusted when you're on a new team versus the original team that drafted you high. So sometimes when those expectations are kind of lifted off of you, you play a little bit, you play a little more freer, and and also at this point of his career, he kind of knows who he is more now than back then. So
he doesn't take penalties. That's a value thing.
Yeah, that's huge for a defenseman. We've seen it, we've seen it so many times. He's just physical enough. He's figured out that fine line, and that is a vital attribute to have as an NHL defenseman.
And, I think his career, he wasn't bad in the last few years in Anaheim. It was basically a situation. He had a rebuilding team, and they looked at his age and when they were going to be competitive, and he was probably going to be 34, 35 when they were ready to challenge for a Stanley Cup. So it wasn't the fact that he wasn't a good player. They had him for a long time. He was an all-star at one point. I believe he was. But he's just a good defenseman. He's a good, solid defenseman.
Half a point a game defenseman for his career, roughly. That's good.
Now, I have to say this, and it goes without saying. The St. Louis defense has never been the same since they lost Alex Pietrangelo in free agency to Vegas.
I think everybody figured that. Like
but they tried patchwork fixes like Nick Leddy, and that didn't.
They went with guys who had championship level resumes. But, the old money ball, we can recreate Alex Pietrangelo in the aggregate.
It doesn't work.
It's tough. It's tough when you have a guy who's such a,
he's a horse.
He's honestly, he's not Chris Pronger, but he has, but for the effect on the St. Louis blue line, and quite frankly, also for Vegas's blue line.
I was just going to say,
that's the kind of effect he has.
Anybody who's picking Vegas to win the Stanley Cup, I first want to see how they, Mitch Marner is going to boost their offense. I'm sure he's going to help, Voroviev or Eichel or whoever he plays with score more goals. And there's no doubt that's what he does. But defensively, now your best defenseman is Shea Theodore. You have Hanifin.
I do think is underrated at times.
Yes. Yes, he is, and he's going to make.
I'll put it this way: I think Vegas, compared to what St. Louis had to replace Pietrangelo, right. I have a little more faith in what Vegas has. I don't think you can completely replace with those guys what Pietrangelo is. I think it's close. I think it's a closer. You can figure things out a little bit, and get White Cloud too, who's starting to come into his own.
White Cloud's good.
So if you can get those three guys,
I
might be able to.
I don't know how they're going to pull this off, but supposedly they're in the lead if there's a trade for Rasmus Anderson. If Calgary trades,
that's what we talked about for a while. Them and Dallas, I think, right? Those are the two teams that are.
I like to see how they figure fitting it, because the new CBA rules and this story that came out this week about Pietrangelo saying, well, I'm not going to close the door. Of course he's not going to close the door. He's a competitive athlete. He's a champion. He wants to play. But if he can play, the new CBA rules about LTIR, you get the full salary, $8.8 million, if he says, I'm out for the year and the playoffs.
Right.
So if he doesn't say that, if he says, well, let's keep it open, then they only get like a percent.
We now otherwise known as the Vegas Florida rule.
Right.
So I mean that's the part there. But I think he'll look at it and say, this is how I contribute to and help this team, compete by falling on the LTIR grenade, basically.
Yeah, listen, Mitch Marner will make up the difference on defense in Vegas.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's good. I love that jersey, by the way. That guy, I saw that picture of some guy who wore jersey. It said, thanks Toronto 93. I'm like, dude, how much money did you spend on that?
You won't be saying that in May.
I guess we'll see.
May's a long time away, man.
If he's bucking in the Western Conference Final, which I was actually asked to do by a Hockey Hot Stove colleague to ask who do you think is going to.
He asked me too, but I didn't fully commit.
I did.
I committed, and Vegas was not in the Final Four for me.
Oh, Vegas was in the Final Four for me. It was Vegas.
Yeah, I have them coming up short.
We're going to have our own prediction show.
We will. But I'm pretty committed to what I have right now, unless
I'm not.
There's injuries between now and the end of the season. Then I have the right to adjust.
Speaking of which, this is how we could start the team reports. Mike, Matthias Samuelsson, he's having an injury-plagued career. It's a shame.
No, they weren't specific about, and they didn't say it was anything of a serious nature. But Lindy Ruff came out and said after practice he had some sort of upper body injury, and they were just being careful. But this is the issue with him. He's a good defenseman. There's no doubt. He's a good, and I think he's the type of defenseman they need. He's defensively sound. He's not a bad skater. Offensively, he's not very gifted.
No, he doesn't have to be.
But he's probably a really good 5, and they would need him on the PK. But he can't stay healthy. Yeah. And now, I'm not saying he's going to go on IR or anything, but this is they have to have a 7 and an 8 that's capable of playing. And right now, their 7 and 8 defensemen are probably Jacob Bryson and Zach Jones, and maybe Ryan Johnson, their former first round pick. So, but the thing is, you have to be prepared all the time for Samuelsson being hurt. And that's they got Alex Tuck back. He had a lingering injury. Jordan Greenway is another player that we've talked about ad nauseum about injuries. He's not even going to be available until after the beginning of the regular season. But the one that's hanging over the head of the Sabres right now, and he's been healthy so far, and he's on the top line centering Zach Benson and Tage Thompson, is Josh Norris. And Josh Norris, if they have any hope of making the playoffs, Josh Norris has to play all the time.
Sure, that's fair.
Because if he doesn't play, then Tage Thompson has to move to the middle, where I think he's less effective and more of a defensive liability. Not that he's bad defensively, but he's better on the wing, where he doesn't have to be concerned as much.
Doesn't UPL have to stay healthy too? He just returned, right? So
they're again, knock on wood. The last 2 years, Rusty's played over 50 games. If they get that out of him and they get good backup goaltending or 1B goaltending out of Alex Lyon, then I don't think they're complaining. But we don't know specifically what this injury is. They said lower body. It could be ankle ankle, it could be hip. Anytime a goaltender has double hip surgery on his resume, you're concerned that it's a recurrence of that. And he's practiced a couple times and he's been okay. So I mean, they're hoping everything is fine.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't see a path for them and the playoffs. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm not picking the Buffalo Sabres to make the playoffs. I'm not.
And you wouldn't exactly be going out on the biggest limb there.
No, I'm not going out.
I think that branch is pretty strong where you could literally jump up and down on it and it won't snap on you.
Yeah, I think that's safe. And we did well, actually, I'm going to go to the thing that stole all the headlines, and I have not had a chance to watch the highlights from Marc-Andre Fleury, but it was nice. I used to be against the one-day contracts because players just sort of came back and it's like, it's great to be here. They sign the contract. Everybody does a press conference and they leave. I think the Penguins have added a new layer to it by letting Fleury have a PTO and actually get in a preseason game.
Yeah.
This is perfect. And I don't want to say it was bad the way he left because that's just the way circumstances were. He kind of lost his job.
Right,
but this is the perfect way to end it.
No, I agree with you. It's a nice way to put a cap on top of it, and you have all four of the players together. That were if you're a Penguins fan, this is it. This is the This is the you had the Lemieux era, the Crosby era. These were your bedrock posts of the team. I mean, these were the guys that were literally just three Stanley. When you think about three Stanley Cups in that era, which again is not easy to do. We're going to see if we'll get into the Florida Panthers shortly, but it's a difficult task. And to honor Marc-Andre Fleury, I think it works as well as long as the player is truly retiring. This is sort of the final moment, and I know Pierre LeBrun sort of said something like, something along the lines of, well, if a team comes calling, would he consider coming back? Then if he's on another team, then it completely makes this lose its, to me, I shouldn't say completely lose the effect, but if this is supposed to be his final moment on an NHL rink as an NHL goaltender, it was a great way to do it.
Yeah, you can't do it much better than that. I mean, I'm sure, the demand for an exhibition game in terms of tickets, and I get it. It's like, I completely understand it. It's like, and just, I saw like a video, like a YouTube, like a short of him and Malkin having like some playful banter back and forth during a practice. It was fantastic. Yeah. Do I think that some team or multiple teams will knock on the door of Marc-Andre Fleury at Christmas time and say, "You sure you want to retire?"
They always do.
They always do. You'd be irresponsible as a GM that if Brad Treliving with the Leafs goaltending situation right now, that's like sort of uncertain that we're going to talk about in a minute, or Edmonton with their tire fire situation, you'd be abrogating your responsibility if you didn't do it. But do I think he's going to do it? No. I think if he was going to do it, he wouldn't have done this. He wouldn't have ended it on a note in Pittsburgh.
He would have kept it open. He would have signed a PTO with another team.
Right.
If his intention was that. So it sounds basically, I think what the code was that you got to make him a financial offer that he can't say no to. That's how that's how far along he is.
This isn't Gump Worsley. He's not playing until like that kind of age.
No, Mike, I would honestly, if he signed with a team after this, it wouldn't make my jaw drop, but I would be kind of like, what? Yeah. How much was this? I said, you better have made it financially worth his while to kind of go back on it.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. So let's talk about the curious case of Jack Roslovic, because listen, I've been saying all along, there is a reason he is not signed. The reason is he's a higher functioning Daniel Sprong, except he's a center, so he can win some faceoffs for sure. I think teams were surprised, and no team has told me this, I'm just guessing. We're surprised that Carolina did not re-sign him. And I think everybody looks at it like he's asking for too much money. And for what he brings you, the last couple of teams, with the exception of Carolina, he has not done well.
Well, but is it that's when he got scratched in the postseason by the Carolina?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Is that a surprise then that that should be? And I think most NHL teams, that's the signal in this circumstance.
Right.
They might see a player here in Roslovic that could fit multiple potential areas. He played on the wing too, obviously. I think that was part of his, with less defensive responsibilities in Carolina.
Right.
But even then, Carolina got to the point of just like, even with 20 odd goals, he's too much of a liability in that scenario. And for what he may be asking for what you're going to get potentially out of him, teams are right to have pause here.
Elliot Friedman laid this out on one of his recent podcasts, and it was like, there's a reason why he fired Claude Lemieux as his agent, because apparently in early July he received multi-year offers, and they were holding out for more, and they figured he was a center on the market. They could get 3 years instead of 2 years. They could get $3 million instead of $2.5 million. He overplayed his hand, and then now he's sort of stuck. And he's fired Lemieux, and he's hired another agent. And now he's probably in the position where he's got to take another 1 year prove-it deal. Yeah. That's why I'm surprised that now. I think the reason why, because I thought Toronto was the right fit, but Brad Treliving came out at the beginning of training camp and said, we're going to look at what we have right now. And we have too many forwards as it is right now. If they're able to trade, David Camp or something like that, and they cut down players, I could still see Roslovic being an option for them, but it's way down on the list. And the longer, if there is a team right now that is interested in him on a 1 year deal, I don't care if it's, $1 million, sign it. You got to play. And the thing is, you waited through the entire training camp. You're starting off behind the 8 ball. Yeah. You may not have as good a year as you may as well go to Europe for a year.
Honestly, that's what I'm kind of thinking about here with Roslovic, is that, you've got to, teams are already deep into their preparations, their systems. Now, again, he's going to need, I think he can graft himself onto a lineup as a wing. You can figure things out, I think, as a wing versus a center in this case. So he's going to have to, wherever he's going to sign.
Why? Let's look at it this way. Florida just lost Barkov.
Yeah.
If anybody needs a center, they do.
They do. But the question again comes down to, is it good to just have a body in there if you don't think he's going to fit what you do?
Right.
I think teams are not looking at Ross. He had his highest level of NHL production as a wing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's how teams look at him. Right. And that's the disconnect here between the money and the fact that he still thinks he's a center. And other teams are like, your best production was as a wing.
And Florida can accommodate the situation, because right now apparently it looks that they're going to move Lundell into a more offensive role, into a top role.
That's what they've been preparing him for. Right. That's what they think he could do that.
And Sam Bennett will be the number 2, and they can move Evan Rodriguez to 3C. And if you sign Roslovic, then you're putting him on the wing.
They're not going to sign Roslovic, though. What I think they're going to do is they're going to sign Evgeny Kuznetsov. That's who I think they're going to sign.
Oh, my God. Well, there was, and I hesitate here because it was a source. I don't know. I don't know the person. I don't know the source. But there's a source out of Russia named Daria something. And I'm
Tubletsova, I think Tubletsova, I think is
right.
Tubletsova, yeah.
And she's for RG
Sports, yeah.
RG Sports, and she's saying that it's down with Kuznetsov. It's down to Toronto and Florida. And honestly, I don't see Toronto signing Evgeny Kuznetsov. I really don't.
What they could do is they could move. They could basically try Kuznetsov in a lower line role, like probably because you want to at least see what he might have offensively for you. So in my mind, he may just be like Lundell moves up to 1, Bennett 2. Kuznetsov, if he can adapt quickly, can get into one of those bottom 6 roles. But he's going to have to fit on board with whatever Florida is doing in this case. Right. And if Lundell again advanced defensively, Kuznetsov has never been what we would call a defensive dynamo back there. So if you're Florida, it's not a great situation, but you're kind of locked into what you're trying to do. So it's going to come down to what Florida really wants.
You're going to have
to, can they put him in the lineup and figure things out, at least for a short term? I think so. They could figure it out, but there'll be some growing pains for him.
And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, they can terminate the contract and just say, I'm sure he's not going to go down to what
in the first half of the season, you give him a ride for a few months. If it isn't working out, just say, doesn't fit our program. We'll give you a go, but not for that long.
But, for those who are saying, the Barkov injury is, and I said it immediately when it happened, is that this is, traumatic and this is, devastating. But when the report came out on Friday night that he had surgery, and they said ACL, MCL, they didn't say it was a tear. They said ACL, MCL.
It's an injury, yeah.
Right, it could be a partial tear. It could be a stretch, whatever. If it was an ACL, he'd be out for a calendar year. Yeah. So it doesn't sound like it's an ACL.
It sounds like it's saying both ACL. So there's an injury to both. The question is maybe if there's a partial tear on one and some other issues with the other. That's why they're going 7 or 9 months. And I know the cynic and everybody says, 7 months. Guess what's in 7 months?
No, I know. I was guessing like 4 months, and I saw him helped off, but I was shocked to hear 7 to 9.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with the CBA, like we talked about on before. If they say he's out for the regular season and the playoffs, and they have access to the full $10 million on to work with. If he doesn't, if he says I might be able to come back, they have access to, I think it was Friedman, it's $3.8 million. They can still add somebody of consequence if a team retains 50%. Sure. And the speculation is, well, Crosby, Malkin.
Yeah, I don't think Crosby's going to do that.
No, Malkin might, because
Malkin maybe, but I don't think yet.
Yeah, but
I think Malkin's going to play half a season at least. With
Bill Zito will press every button. Why not? You have a chance to win a third Stanley Cup.
You're going for a third cup in a row. We haven't had that in how long? 3 cups in a row.
Oilers, right?
Even the Oilers they were not 3 straight.
The Islanders.
Islanders, I think, were the last one that got 3 straight.
That's right. The Calgary in '89 broke it up.
Right.
That's right.
That's you got to remember those things got broken up. That's why it's so hard. So I don't have, that's another one I have.
Montreal in '86, Edmonton in '87 and '88, Calgary. Mm-hmm. I'm doing Calgary in '89, Edmonton in '90. So and then
Detroit had their runs, but it was also they had back-to-back. They weren't broken up. They were as broken up as two.
So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
Mason McTavish signs for 6 years, $7 million a year. I mean, nobody's surprised. I mean, I know a lot of fan bases from other teams were like, we could get Mason McTavish. No, you couldn't.
Yeah.
They weren't going to let him go.
Wasn't keen on that. And I looked at, and I was looking at with McTavish. It also kind of sets the market as well for centers in his range and the type of player that he is. A team like, quite frankly, the Flyers with Trevor Zegras, we're going to need to see how Zegras looks this year. If this is the going rate for a top,
that makes it a little tougher decision, to be honest.
It does, and you're looking at probably more than that, but with the cap going up. But again, if you get the offensive production that you might get out of a Trevor Zegras, you go up
more than that out of McTavish. Like, one thing about Zegras, we could talk about
they're different. Listen, at the end of the day, they're diametrically different players.
I saw him lose
in those roles.
I saw him lose big faceoffs even yesterday. Now his offense looks good, but his faceoffs.
No, there's a lot. But listen. Zegras has acknowledged that himself. I mean, literally, the running joke he had going. Running joke was he says, I'm playing NHL 26, and I saw Sean Couturier's X Factor for faceoff. It says, give me what you got, big guy. Yeah. So he's got a lot of work to do, which is also one of the reasons why we're seeing Christian Dvorak on the wing with him, because it's going to cover it. And as I said to someone last night, I said, say hello to Trevor's training wheels. Right. That's what we're looking at there with him.
But here's my overreaching thing on
McTavish.
On Flyers. So just McTavish, I'm done with. We'll move to the Flyers. Yeah. We watched that game. Mm-hmm. Boston had 5 or 6 of their regulars. That's it.
Yep.
The Flyers muddled through except for some bright moments.
Yeah.
Right now, I understand about Luchenko. He didn't do anything to keep himself on the team, but he has a complicated situation. So I'm moving that aside. Everybody else, in my opinion, I would send back to their places, because Rick Tocchet needs to actually sort out this team now. I think he's not seen enough, to be honest, to send all these guys back.
Yeah, I think, and I did my piece this morning, obviously, for Hot Stove. And for right now, the only player amongst the young players that is really kind of solidifying his spot on the opening night lineup, to me, amongst the young players, is Nikita Grabenko.
Right.
And Grabenko started the game on line 3.
Yeah.
And then after he scored his goal in the second period, and again, Bump, had what I would describe as a roller coaster type of game. He had moments where he flashes, and then he had a turnover that led to a 2-on-1. Everybody obviously saw his lapse, his lapse in concentration that led to, honestly, for Boston to tie the game. He basically opened the door for the Bruins in this case to be able to feel like, hey, we got a new lease in this game.
And he's a -2 the last 2 games.
Yeah, he had. I thought he was okay. I think against Washington he had good moments. I'm not going to as much. This game was the one where I really kind of said to myself, okay, he had some good moments, but the points aren't coming. I do wonder if he's getting a little bit frustrated that he hadn't get that, and that's leading to some youthful lapses in judgment. And I felt after he got moved basically from the first line down to the fourth line, and as the game went on, there was desperation in his game, and it wasn't a good kind of desperation. Right. He was kind of I thought he was getting a bit flustered, trying to make something happen, and he just couldn't do it. Whereas Grebenkin, on the other hand, continued, I thought, he understands what his role is. And one of the reasons why I think Grebenkin has a very good chance of making this roster is because he is a multi-line fit. He is a perfect support player for a lot of different lines. He can play, and that's one of the reasons why they were experimenting with him with Luchenko and with Tippett, and that worked, somewhat in this circumstance. But yeah, there's at this point now, I think we still got 3 games to go. I think they're probably still going to give Bump his full preseason. I think they may have to at a certain point, though.
I think he's too frustrated. See, this
he's
is what
frustrated,
happened.
But I think at least you got 3 games left. I think they might give him at least 1 or 2 more to play. Yeah. And then they tell him, okay, Alex, we're going to need you to play in Lehigh Valley, at least for the opening. But the thing is, he's going to be so quick if there's an injury. He's going to be the first call up in most circumstances, especially if it's a wing.
He's doing well. I mean, again, he got frustrated in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, these are things he's got to grow with. But he's got at the end of the day,
not there yet.
Yeah, he's not there yet. But there's things about his game. He's close. It's one of those things where I do think, and I've always said this, a player has to be mature enough to realize that playing in the American Hockey League is not going to hurt you.
Right.
And we've seen too many. I've seen examples in the past. Perfect example, Wade Allison. He went down and you have to have the right mindset. Yeah. You got to go down and say, don't pout, ball out, do the best you can. We're going to get you back up here, but you do have to earn it back up here.
Just one thing on McTavish before we move on. Because, I mean, I was a little surprised. 6 years, that seems to be what most players are going for now, especially ones that are in their early 20s like he is. Being a center at $7 million, Tage Thompson got $7.1 million like 2 years ago. Matthew Nyes, and I still think this was a good contract as a winger. Now he's a power winger. He's a power forward. He's a goal scorer. The Leafs think he's probably going to score, they hope he's going to score 30 to 35 goals regularly. He got 7.75, $7 million on a 6-year deal for McTavish, who is, Russ, we know what type of player he is.
We do. And he hasn't really peaked yet.
He hasn't peaked yet. I think Verbeek made a phenomenal deal.
I think so too. If he and that's why his number's at 7. Had you already had a Tage Thompson type season offensively,
right?
He should have been up. He could have been upwards of 9 at this point.
Well, I mean, the Ducks do have the best cap guy in the business, and he pretty much showed it on that.
And I thought for a long time the big factor here was it was less about McTavish and more about what is down the road next year. Cutter Gauthier is an RFA.
Yeah.
Leo Carlson's an RFA. I think Lacombe is an RFA. So you've got all these guys coming up for deals. And if they had paid top dollar money to McTavish, they're going to say, okay, it's a Toronto 2.0 situation.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they have to have a priority scale of who they're going to sign. And Leo Carlson, to me, is a 1C.
Right.
He is a 1C. McTavish is can be a high level 2C.
Correct.
Yeah. And I hate to use that thing, but they have the one thing that a lot of teams are always looking for, which is can you have your top 6 centers locked in? Right. They're in a good spot here, Anaheim.
Yeah. They are in a good spot. Another team in a good spot, maybe had the best signing of the week. Optimus Rhyme is back in Toronto.
On a PTO, but yeah.
Okay, I'll
spoil it with that, Anthony.
I sent a message to our mutual friend and guest in the next little bit, Steve Dangle, because Steve could be the biggest Reimer fan, and I said, have well, I won't say exactly what I said.
Mike, that guy who went up to me in a Toronto sporting goods store and kept chanting Optimus Rhyme to me when I told him I didn't think the Leafs were going to be good enough and he was the future, just made me laugh. I was just so Steve is the second biggest.
Yeah, but Steve is very public. So, but the thing is, I mean, okay, this makes a lot of sense. They haven't signed. Okay, what the Leafs did is what the Sabres should have done with bringing in Georgiev. That's why everybody scratched their head. You know, the Sabres signed Georgiev to a one-year deal, $825,000. Why? Because maybe they were uncertain about Luukkonen. Maybe they were afraid that another team who had a goaltending injury would go after Georgiev, who's played a ton of minutes. Okay, I had access to Reimer last year when he was with the Sabres. He played really well down the stretch. He played better than Luukkonen did. Ruff went to him exclusively in the last month of the season. He still can play, but the whole reason here is I think they're going to sign him. But Russ, he's Matt Murray 2.0.
He is. That's why I love it.
But he's the third goalie that is going to get
gleeful over this. I don't understand you.
I'm gleeful.
But see, Russ thinks that like James Reimer is going to be playing for the Leafs like 30 games, and he's going to give up a 4-1 lead.
Plenty of 35-year-old goalies. Like, come on.
Okay, like I said, I think they're gonna sign him to a 1-year deal, veteran minimum deal. I think they'll waive him and he'll go down to the Marlies. And I think he will never play. He'll play more probably. I'd be surprised if he plays a game on the road with the Marlies.
No, he probably won't. Yeah,
he'll play like Matt Murray did. He'll play like 10, 15 games in the AHL. He'll stay fresh. He'll stay ready. And if there's an injury, and right now. And we'll transition to the Leafs here. Joseph Wall, he's on a leave of absence. They're insinuating. There's rumors out there. I'm not going to speculate, but it's a family matter. So
that's what the Leafs report. That's what the Leafs said, right? It was a family matter. The reason
family matter. So it's nothing with him. There was, but so. They don't know when he's going to be back. So but Hildeby has played well in the preseason. So he'll be the backup for Stolarz. But yesterday Stolarz gets elbowed in the head by I think it was Laurent Dauphin, and that is the issue here with the Chiefs is Anthony Stolarz most necessary ability is his availability, and we know from his history he's most of the time. Takes 2 months off because of an injury. If it's a knee or it's this or that, I mean, they have to be prepared, and that's why the Reimer move was a good move.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Michael. Again, this is kind of there was again. Russ is like, yes, there's you could have other options.
Russ is like
they might have, if Georgiev was still there, they might have taken a shot on him, but the Sabres beat him to it. So
that's Russ.
I'm taken aback by this headline that I have to read here from NHL.com. Penguins reduced training camp roster to 58 players 7 hours ago. 58 players? Do they still have that many?
That's a crazy number. Philly's
That's just crazy
after the Nesbitt and Spencer Gill returns to their respective teams. Philly's down to 40.
Yeah, 58.
58. What is this? An honor? Is this in honor of Chris Letang for something here? We're keeping him at 58 for a week or so.
Are they counting Lemieux on that?
Is his birthday coming up where they're all going to hold the candle up?
I know Lemieux rode around with Crosby and a Hummer. Maybe he's on the roster.
I don't know whether they've played their 4 because most teams have played their 4 preseason games, and they usually cut down to probably around 30. I think Buffalo did that yesterday.
Wild. 58 still at this point.
Yeah, I'll bet you anything if they've only played 3 preseason games and they have a 4th one.
Yeah, that's good. I got to consider how many games they've played total.
They played that entire Wilkes-Barre Scranton team in one game, and then they
Philly had how many? So Philly's cut downs, their first big cut down of 10 players to Lehigh. That was right before Thursday's game, right, Russ? So they were 2 games in Philly before they sent their players to Lehigh, including Samu Tumala, who, that's another conversation there for me.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at this roster. It's massive. I've downloaded it. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
they were all involved in Flowers' pranks.
14, 15, 16 defensemen still on the roster.
They were told to be involved in Flowers' pranks. Now that he's done, they'll make a massive cut down.
But they could have done it this morning. Like there's 16 defensemen.
That's or whatever the organization decides, that's what they do. But how many games are they up to now? That was their third preseason game or second?
I don't know. I'll look.
Because everybody kind of started in different spots. I do wonder if they're done two, if they're going to have.
It's just Parker Wotherspoon is on the roster. Harrison Brunicky, they haven't even sent him back yet. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Check how many games they've played so far, Mike. How many preseason games they played?
I'm looking right now.
If they're like at 2, then I get it. If they're 3, that's pushing.
Yeah, no, they've played 4 games.
That is.
I'll bet you they make the move tomorrow. I'll bet you the cut
could be a big old, or could be later today. Now,
just one last thing about the Leafs is because the story is, the only story right now besides Optimus Rhyme is the fourth line battle right now, and Easton Cowan did not play on Saturday against Montreal, but he's played 3 games. Berube loves the way he's playing. Now, this is the thing. This is the age-old question. Is it better for a prospect to play a bottom 6 role in the NHL or a top-line role in the American Hockey League? As a 20-year-old, Easton Cowan, he started out on the 4th line with London. He moved up. He won MVP, won a Memorial Cup. His resume is impeccable. But the question is, now he played really well on a 4th line with Scott Lawton and Steven Lorenz in Montreal earlier in the week. Do you really want Easton Cowan to play a 4th line role? I don't know.
Here's my thinking, knowing Cowan a bit. He could play on a 4th line if it's Lawton and maybe somebody a little more talented than Lorenz, because then it's kind of like not an energy line anymore. It's just another line.
Yes,
it is somewhat of an energy. When I say an energy line, it's like more offensively leaning energy line.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
He could do that. But if it's going to be Steven Lorenz on his wing with Lawton, you can't do that.
Yeah, and no, it's going to be Steven Lorenz. Steven Lorenz is
you can't do that.
Right. So I mean, but you have 5 forwards battling for 2 spots. It's Cowan, David Kampf, Kalle Järnkrok, Michael Pezzetta, and Nick Robertson.
Okay, Michael Pezzetta should not even be in the.
I agree, Russ. But this is Berube, and he wants a nuclear missile in his silo.
Marginal. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. He wants a nuclear missile in his silo. So in case somebody takes a run at somebody, he can send out no talent Michael Pezzetta.
He'll be there the next shift.
It's the deterrent.
Yeah, but I'll give
it's no longer a deterrent in this league because the cheap shots end up happening before that guy's on the ice.
Russ. It's called you're preaching to the choir.
No, I know, but it drives me crazy because I got it in the old days. In the old days, everything was brazen enough that yes, that guy on that line made you stop going after that player. It did. It doesn't work that way.
I'll give Michael Pezzetta credit. He's fought in a preseason game. That's one more fight than Ryan Reeves had all year last year.
Okay.
There it is.
That useless.
We got a Ryan Reeves reference for the game.
Yeah, we got it in.
There you go.
We got it in.
All right.
Any food takes?
No, I mean I did see people are excited about fall and they have a right to be.
They have a right to be. This is America.
I did see scrolling through Instagram, Jennifer Love Hewitt was doing a fall coffee preview, and I went right off of that because I knew what was coming.
Pumpkin spice, baby.
I know what the next thing is, and I forwarded right off. I went right off that.
And she ended her YouTube with "Thank you for the attention to this matter."
But I will tell you, here's the thing that I'm shocked at, and Mike would know the answer. Is this Sonic commercial true? Where coffee is $7. They say don't buy $7 coffees because you can get it from us for $2.99 or $3.
I don't know if it's true, and if it is, Sonic should go.
Depends on the side. If you're talking about
Sonic, Sonic.
No, he's saying other places it's $7. Dude, if you're getting a coffee that's yay big, venti, not venti, whatever, super venti, grande, whatever they call it.
What does a venti cost?
Big gulp.
I'll go find out right now. You want to find out? Let's see.
I want to know.
So we're going to go to Starbucks since obviously they're closing up stores.
Regular coffee from Starbucks.
Grande size cost. A coffee grande cost. Let's see.
Live on the
price on average is anywhere. So a grande can cost anywhere between $3.25 and $8, depending on the beverage and location.
So I think once you add oatmeal,
they went to the extreme. They went to whatever the extreme end is.
When you get other pumps in it, so they're not lying. I just can't believe people spend $7 on a coffee.
Believe it.
This.
Mike,
I don't.
I go on your coffee.
I don't. I brew my own, and then in the afternoon, if I need a coffee, I go to Wawa.
This is on the edge.
Well, no, I mean, coffee wise, I'm very simple. I don't drink much coffee at home, and when I go out to a cafe, I have what's called a breve, which is espresso and half.
Right, but what's the cost?
$6. But I don't order it every day because that's ridiculous.
$7 just seems like, man, that's over. If
now, my wife just got back from Rome,
right?
So for like cappuccinos and everything. Now in Italy, on the other hand, it's cheaper than water.
Right.
It's cheaper than water. It's like when you go to Prague for the Czech Republic, and beer is cheaper than water.
Beer is really cheap there, yeah.
Uh-huh. So
wait a second. Well, what's the main ingredient in beer? Water.
Yeah, I mean that's fair too.
Well, I mean the base, for sure. All right.
That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.